Hey, it's Dan Morales, America's Mortgage Man, and I wanted to do a very quick video. I wanted to talk about financing condominiums. Financing a condominium is different than financing your traditional single-family residence. When you finance a condominium, the condominium association has a big impact on the loan terms that would be available to you. Now, most clients who are looking to take your traditional, conventional, let's say 30-year fixed rate type of mortgage, most clients are looking to get the best rate and terms, okay? To get the best rate and terms when it comes to financing a condominium, you typically have to have what's called a warrantable condominium project, okay? When it comes to financing condominiums, there's typically two different classifications. You have what's called a warrantable condominium project, and then you have what's called a non-warrantable condominium project. A warrantable condominium project is a condominium project that meets Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's requirements for traditional conventional financing. That's going to get you the best rate and terms, if you will, okay? A non-warrantable condominium project is a condominium project that does not meet Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac's requirements, either currently or it may never meet the requirements. So when you look at non-warrantable condominiums, there's really two kind of subsections that come into play. You have a non-warrantable condominium project that is going to eventually turn warrantable, and then you have a non-warrantable condominium project that for some reason or another does not currently meet Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac's requirements and likely never will meet the requirements, meaning that that condominium project will always likely remain non-warrantable, okay? When it comes to financing options, your financing options can depend on the type of classification your condominium association has. Best rate and terms are available for those projects that are considered warrantable, meaning that it meets Fannie Mae's criteria for traditional conventional financing. Then you have, let's say, that kind of middle of the road classification, meaning that that condominium project right now is a project that is maybe considered non-warrantable, but it is going to turn warrantable. Now, what do you mean by that, Dan? You know, what's a non-warrantable condo that is likely going to turn warrantable? Those condominiums are typically condominium projects that are new projects, meaning that they're currently building new phases and new units as part of that condominium project. Once that condominium project is done and they sold enough of the units and it's been turned over to the homeowners association and good stuff like that, you have a condominium project that is likely going to turn into what's considered a warrantable condominium, okay? So if you are financing a condominium and right now you're being told that that project is non-warrantable, maybe it's because it's a brand new project with new units and phases still being built, and you're being told that that project's not eligible for traditional conventional financing, you're in good luck, right? Good luck for you, right? Because you're watching this video, which means that you're going to find out that we offer a product that allows you to finance that condominium project in most cases as though it's a warrantable project, meaning that you would qualify for the best rate and terms, even though that project is still, if you will, subject to additional units or phases being built. So that's great news. Now, what happens if you have a condominium project for some reason or another that is truly a non-warrantable condominium, and it's one that maybe isn't going to turn into a warrantable project? We offer financing options for those particular type of condominium projects as well. Now, granted, the rates and terms are probably a little less favorable for that scenario, but we do have some really competitive and great options that are available for financing a project that doesn't meet, let's say, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac's criteria currently and likely never will. So let's talk about what types of things would make it, such where it's not going to meet their criteria, okay? Things that can make it a true non-warrantable condominium. It could be stuff like the percentage of the project that is being used commercially. Now, currently, at the time I shoot this video, the project cannot have more than 35% of the project that's being used commercially. So if 40% of, let's say, the project is being used for commercial purposes, that could make that project, or I should say could, it will make that project ineligible for traditional conventional Fannie Mae type of financing, okay? Doesn't mean you can't get a loan, because we can accommodate those types of projects oftentimes, okay? In addition to that, you can have one person who owns the majority of the units in the project. That can be, if you will, problematic. You can have a number of the homeowners that are past due in the association, dues that can be problematic as part of that as well too. And there's a whole host of other things, such as deficiencies with the homeowners association budget or unique aspects to the bylaws that can all trigger those things, making that project non-warrantable and one that's not eligible for traditional conventional financing. Now, in some cases, you can have a project that might be considered non-warrantable for one borrower, but warrantable for a different borrower. And that has to do with the type of review that is done on the condominium project, okay? If you're doing a down payment of less than 10% on the purchase of your condominium is typically going to be subject to what's called a full review. That full review means that we're going to look much deeper and closer at that condominium association. We're going to look at, their bylaws, their budget, and we're just going to look a lot deeper. Sometimes when you get those additional pieces of documentation, you'll discover that there's a deficiency in either the bylaws or in the budget that could make that condominium project non-warrantable or not eligible for traditional financing through, let's say, Fannie Mae's conventional loan terms. Now, let's say you have a 10% down payment or greater, then that condominium project is subject to what's called a limited review. In the course of that limited review, what happens is we don't gather as much documentation, meaning that you could have an aspect in the bylaws or something like that that would normally make that condominium project, let's say, non-warrantable, but because we're not reviewing those as part of the limited review, that project could be one that is now considered warrantable simply just because of the difference between the type of reviews, right? One being a full, more detailed review, one being a limited review where not as much documentation is required because of the down payment that you have into the project. That down payment is such that it could make that project eligible for traditional conventional financing, which means you get a better deal when it's all said and done. So you can have two borrowers in the same project with two different outcomes depending on the type of review that's done. So why the big long video and why this big long explanation of all of this stuff? It's really simple. If you are going to finance a condominium, you need to work with a lender that knows what they're doing when it comes to financing these types of projects, and a lender that has, if you will, product available no matter what classification you fall into. So if you have a warrantable condominium, we can help you there. If you have one that's maybe not warrantable now, but it's going to turn warrantable, we can help you with that as well too. Maybe you have one that's non-warrantable, it's always going to be non-warrantable for some reason or another, we have options for you there as well too. I can tell you, I personally have financed 3 different condominiums in my lifetime. 2 of them are non-warrantable and 1 was warrantable. So I know what I'm doing when it comes to financing condominiums, and I'd love to help make sure we take good care of you, because oftentimes lenders don't know these fine nuances, and it can lead to a lot of frustration for you as part of this process because a lender didn't bother to do their homework or to look into the details of the association to know for sure what they have to work with. Now, one other thing I do want to point out as part of the loan process when it comes to financing a condominium, one of the things that you need to be aware of is when you start this process, we do our best to try to determine, at least as quickly as we can, whether or not that condominium project is one that is considered warrantable, meaning it's eligible for the best rates and terms, okay? In some cases, we don't know that a project is non-warrantable until we get some of that information back from the condominium association. So that means that we could be in the course of processing your loan for a week, maybe even 10 days, depending on how fast the condominium association returns documents, before we discover that there's an issue with the association that would cause the loan to be considered non-warrantable. So don't get frustrated with your lender. We're doing our job, and sometimes we do have to rely on the association to get pieces of information to us. And as soon as we know that there is a potential issue with the association that would impact you or the loan terms that you have available, we communicate that information as quickly as possible. So there's a lot of little moving parts to financing a condominium. Again, it's super important that you work with a lender that has experience with those types of projects, because if not, you can end up with just a world of frustration when it's all said and done. Because of the arsenal of products that we have available, especially the ability to finance a non-warrantable condominium as though it's warrantable in certain, if you will, specific options, that is a huge plus that North Point offers that you're not going to find from a lot of lenders. I'm Dan Morales, America's Mortgage Man. My NMLS number is 709-729. My phone number is 616-931-4629. And of course, North Point Bank is an equal housing lender. Have a great day.